It's no secret, guys, there's been a lot of stuff going on with Diablo Immortal, and not all for the positive. We've had content creators leaving the game, players leaving the game. I myself have been unhappy with and even a little bit unmotivated to play the game. So this is bringing up a question today that's going to lead me into more questions that we're going to discuss and fuel this video. The main question I want to discuss today is Diablo Immortal. Why didn't they just go straight up free to play when the game launched? Why didn't they just go with storage space and cosmetics? Why did they have to go with the element of legendary crests, about putting these caps in place, about combat rating? Why was all of this put into place? And the bigger question here is, if it weren't there, would the game have been in a better position right now? Now, we're going to flick back and forth between talking to me, looking at some comments from the community, and some old gameplay. This gameplay right here is way back, 355 Paragon. That tells you how far back we were. But I figured we'd have something in the background. So when the game came out, everyone was complaining about it being pay to win. The legendary crests, the legendary gems, gem resonance, and how all of that system worked inside of the game. But that has morphed over time. Now with the latest thing is the new regular gems that are coming into the game, the caps on gems, the caps on purchases, and the inability for people to be able to get enough to be able to level themselves up, amongst a whole bunch of other things. So what we say to ourselves is, right now, looking at the big picture, 8-9 months after the game released, if Diablo Immortal was not at all pay to win, if the only things that you could buy inside of the game were cosmetics and were storage space for your bag or for your stash, would the game have been better? Would it have solved a lot of these issues? Now, it clearly would have solved the biggest issue of all that started things out, which was the whole pay to win element. We lost tons of players when the game launched because of that, and we could have potentially had a lot of those players with us still if the game didn't have that pay to win element to it. Many people from the mobile gaming space were able to look past that and say, you know what, I'm just not going to spend, I'm going to still enjoy the game for what it is. And they were able to do that. But a lot of people, specifically from the PC realm, they took that as a hightail out of here. We don't need to cover this, and we're not going to. Now, with all this being said, we have D4, we're repping our D4 stuff right here. It's coming out soon. I will be playing the game. I don't know to what extent I'm going to cover it here on the channel, but I will cover it. I will give you impressions of it and things like that. But who knows where it's going to fuel me in the future. I've actually been getting the urge to play Diablo 3 again, to just kind of, all the issues that we're having with Diablo Immortal, throw them out the window and say, you know what, let's not worry about those. Let's just play a different game. Now, like I said, we looked in on the community and what they had to say, and I'm going to pull in a few comments here today, and we're going to make these discussion points. So we have S Goodman 72. Great video once again. Echo, you hit the nail on the head, and it's nice to see you take a step back and look at the big picture. This was in regards to the video regarding the gems and the caps inside of the game, from our secret commenter that we had just a few days ago. Think about this. While everything you've stated in your video is completely accurate and is a serious problem in the game, I'd argue that the gem issue doesn't even rank amongst the biggest problems that Diablo Immortal is facing. So this person believes that there's even bigger problems than the gems. What are they? As bad as it is, these gems are only modifying some of your stats and aren't completely overpowered one way or the other. They're not barring us from content, in other words, as you can still function in the game without them. This is true. It's not like not being able to get legendary gems, right? That's the scary part. With as impossibly broken as these gems are, there's still nothing compared to other situations. So that's an issue right there, isn't it? We have this issue. This is the first update that Blizzard has put out that I was kind of like, that's really not that great. I really don't like what's being done there. And to think that there's other things that are even worse than that, it makes it difficult. And I'm not just talking about, about the way that the regular gems are changing. I'm talking about the inability to get enough of them to rank yourself up. Now, of course, this is kind of specific to players that are, big time grinders or big spenders. For the casual players, this probably won't make a difference, but for those big players, well, it definitely may. Let's take a look at another comment that we have here from Santa Fred, New York, or NY. I shouldn't assume it's New York. I've come back to playing Diablo Immortal recently because I have friends that started. That is their first time playing a Diablo game. And that's the great thing about Diablo Immortal. It allows us to come into the Diablo space for the first time, never playing Diablo before if you only have mobile. I tell them that the other Diablo games are different. Each are. I will most likely be hanging in Diablo Immortal until Season 28 for Diablo 3 drops. Season 28 is looking like an insane amount of fun with new mechanics. Season 28 will bring me into D4, and I'll then be moving on to that. I'm hoping that none of the soft caps make it into D4. It'll ruin the experience for many players. So this is something else that we're seeing. We're seeing people put down Diablo Immortal, the latest installment of Diablo, and go back to the one that's 10 years old because they're more excited about changes coming to that game than what's coming to the newest game that's 10 years newer. That's a problem, in my opinion. Let's finish the comment. I've been enjoying my time playing with my friends in Diablo Immortal, but have been looking forward to getting back to D3 for next season and saying goodbye to DI for good. Now that says a lot right there, and I also may be playing a little bit of D3. I've been getting that same urge, and I hear that Necro may be the class to play over there. That could be fun. I'm gonna probably mess around with that a little bit myself. With that being said, not sure what I'm yet doing with Diablo Immortal. You would assume that from all my latest videos that I'm gonna be out, but we're not sure just yet. Let's look at another comment here and see where this drives the video. I think the real issue is they shoehorned in an action RPG system into an MMO or ARPG line of service game. They don't want, which means they kind of forced it in, an action RPG into an MMORPG style. They don't want or expect you to ever reach the cap because they want you to have something to grind towards for the life of the game. This is true, especially in mobile games. You always need to have something to grind to because it gives you a reason to log in. Unfortunately, with Diablo Immortal, it's one of the only reasons to log in, to continue that grind. The problem with this is there's no sense of accomplishment, no sense of completion. It leaves you, in my opinion, it leaves you feeling kind of hollow. There's never like a, yes, we made it, unless if you're one of the best in the game, one of the biggest spenders in the game, and you're crushing in PvP, or if you're leading the leaderboards, which only can happen if you're a spender. What they should have done, and can honestly still overhaul, is do almost the same thing they did to legendaries. And that is segment the gems off into each hell mode so you get your hell 1 gems maxed out, and once you get to hell 2 gems will begin to drop. And that's the key word, drop. They need to add more reliable methods of attaining gems to make the system work. Put it in bounty cache, least desirable from drops from rifts. That way you can farm them out and complete your set by the time you reach the next hell difficulty. They do the same thing with gear in World of Warcraft. New patch, new gear to replace old gear. Lost Ark is another example of this. They have tiers. World tier, to put it simply, has its own gear and gems that you must obtain to move on to the next. And in the future patches come new tiers. That's how you make a content gear treadmill loop. It's a line of service game 101. Not sure how Blizzard of all companies missed this. They must be a sense of accomplishment and achievement. Awesome, got tier 1 done. Time to move on to tier 2. Makes sense. Trying to accomplish things along the way and then decide to choose to move on and grind the next. I actually like that a lot. It was a really nice comment and brought up another whole thought process that we could get into on there. Let me know what you have to say as well if you have any thoughts on any of these comments that have come in so far. I do have 2 more though that I want to get into before we kind of tune out this video, but it seems that a lot of people have been feeling this way. Now, I want to address a comment that I don't have to throw on the screen, but someone said recently in my comments, Echo, a few weeks ago, you were all about the game. You said you'd wake up in the morning and you'd run your bounties and like get everything done, then you'd grind hard at night. And that's true. But you know what? At some point, for gamers, I'm a gamer just like you guys are, right? I just make videos about the game. I also did create this entire YouTube channel around a game that's now doing things that I'm feeling are going to be hurting the game, in turn hurting my 3-year investment into this channel as well. Like it's not cool. It doesn't feel good to see things go ways that even I'm not enjoying. But you know, my opinions can change. Because 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said that I part of my day is waking up, grinding the bounties, doing all that, and then doing this. I mean, I got tired of it. I started playing a few other games that were more rewarding to me and that were just a little bit more enjoyable to me. Even though I'm not sharing them here in the channel, I'm not putting videos out on them, those are the ones that I find myself logging into. And this is a recent change for me, as of about a week and a half, to be very fair. So my opinions can and will change based on what I'm currently doing and how I'm honestly feeling about the game. But what I do here is I share how I'm feeling with you guys. So maybe it gets a little bit more stuck in stone than would just someone else sharing their opinion because I'm doing it on YouTube. I don't know. But my opinions, to be fair, definitely have changed about the game over the past few weeks. They definitely have. Let's get into this next comment. We have a new user saying, I changed my playstyle from hardcore grinder into a keep at par with server Paragon level of playing right after major updates that give you tons of legendary items and set items easily. And guess what? I never get burned out of grinding anymore. If you grind a lot in Diablo Immortal, I realized it gets stale quickly. Now, I much more enjoy Diablo Immortal if I just keep my tune at par server level. There's a lot of cons. If you make haste into getting into the next level ahead of the majority of players, you'll still get dragged down to the majority of players' hell difficulty anyway. What a great point. He's not even talking about here grinding to be at Paragon. He's talking about grinding beyond Paragon, where everything gets completely chopped off and your rewards are like slim to none, where you're trying to get the advantage over other players because you're putting in more grind than anyone else. That will burn you out. But let's take me, for example. I'm under 500 Paragon right now. The server is over 500 Paragon, and because I haven't logged onto Diablo Immortal in about a week, well, it's gonna feel bad going back in. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be able to grind a couple of levels of Paragon probably day one, probably 4 or 5 levels pretty easily, but then I'm behind. Then I'm not gonna be on the next hell difficulty with everyone, and I feel diving back in, like if tomorrow I decide I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna grind Diablo Immortal today, I'm way behind, and I feel like I have to do it as a job just to get to where I need to be able to play with my friends again. And it's only been a week, which means I'm only probably 14 Paragon levels behind where I was before. But before that, I was probably 15 or 20 Paragon levels behind anyway, because I had been kind of phasing out, losing a little bit of interest in playing. So that is another thing that's kind of an issue. I shouldn't ever feel that a game that I have feels like a job if I want to log back into it. But we have one more comment I want to get into right here from Sidharth Gang. The reward in the game is not sufficient in any mode of the game. Remember, this video, it started out as us talking about what if the game were free to play from day one, not having legendary crests, only being able to pay for gear, like, you know, for your cosmetic gear, I mean, which has no modifications to your build or storage space. One, you become immortal. The rewards are meh. Also, almost equal to the shadows. I agree. We were immortals when the game came out in Diablo Immortal. We were immortals for what, 6 weeks or so? Very grindy. Very low rewards. There may even be more rewards now for immortals, but it didn't feel good back then. It didn't feel like you were getting something that you weren't being rewarded for being the immortal. Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds is so less rewarding. They could do 2 types of rewards in Battlegrounds. A, end of season reward that include things like LC to drop 3 to top 3 of each class, RC and hilts to the top 10, things like that. Or B, every battleground match points is so bad. So he's saying that the rewards you get are so bad, I believe. If I become MVP, shouldn't I be rewarded more points? So getting rewarded for being higher on each battle's, you know, list of, I guess that really just has to do with damage and kills. Because when the match ends, we all know how much points we get. The system is so lame. So they're saying that Battlegrounds is just not rewarding to play. I personally don't feel Battlegrounds is fun to play. I wouldn't even be worried about the rewards. I just want it to be a fun game mode, right? And then they say PvE, which is player versus environment, the ton of internal caps, not just in rewards, but also in things like block chance, attack speed. Everything has a cap. One moment. And this is true, there is a cap on everything. Now, I guess some things need to be capped to keep game balance. But things like, if you find an elite in the world, you get yourself a guaranteed legendary. But if you find a second elite in the world, you don't get it. Why? Why not get me the extra legendary? Like, why does that, silly things like that really do hurt the game, in my opinion. In conclusion, if the game starts giving more rewards for all activities, it'll become more worthwhile to grind. And that can be true. We're gonna have to see if they start to make those changes inside of the game or if they don't. For me, I know this one thing. I am not logging on to Diablo Immortal today. Tomorrow, I could wake up with the urge to log back on and get back into what's going on there. I will be sure to keep all of you updated on anything that I personally choose to do or any news that comes out. I'm gonna be talking to you about my thoughts and feelings on news regarding Diablo 3, 4, Diablo Immortal, and really any other action RPGs in the space. We've had a lot of discussions over the last few videos. I had Chosen, I had DM, and I have more people that I have planned to bring onto the channel to have these types of discussions, to get insight from everyone from the content creator community. And you guys have been here to kind of engage with that. I appreciate it. And that's part of why I like bringing out these videos, where I could share your comments and you guys could be kind of, not in a way rewarded, but heard by Blizzard watching the video, by the community watching the video. You could be heard, and you are not just a viewer, you are actually part of this channel, which is always what the plan had been from when I started it 3 years ago. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe because you never know what I'm gonna say next. And be good.